All right. Hello and welcome to today's session. I want to thank you for joining. My name is Carlo Bobilas, and before we get started, I wanted to go over a couple of items. During the session, we will be using Slido to take questions. Please scan the QR code displayed on the screen or visit slido.com and enter the event code. If prompted for a password, please use the information on the screen as well. This session is being recorded and will be made available immediately after the session ends. We'll provide some details at the end. Today's speakers are Technical Marketing Leader for CX Security, Oksana Sanikova, and Customer Success Manager, Alexandria Edwards. Our first speaker is Alex. Alex, hello and welcome. How are you?
Hi, Carlo. I'm doing great. How are you? I'm
Doing
so
great too.
excited to be here. Whoop, whoop. Let's get into it. Let's get into it.
Exactly. Definitely looking forward to an informative session. Alex, the stage is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Welcome, Cisco fam. I'm so happy that you guys are here, and I hope that you guys take a lot of valuable information today away. Alrighty. So first things first, let's go over today's agenda. Okay, first we're going to be going over XDR and incident response, then understanding SecOps playbooks, building effective workflows for incident response, implementing playbook automation rules, and then last but not least, we're going to have an awesome demo by Oksana doing playbook automation in action. Alrighty, so I hope you guys are excited. Let's get into it. So, incident from multiple sources to provide a more complete picture of an attack, right? So, I know you're asking, what's in it for SecOps? So let's outline what an effective XDR solution looks like. First, it must integrate multiple sources of telemetry, not just an endpoint. It must gather and analyze data from an endpoint, the network, email, cloud, identity, firewall, all of it. All of these sources are vital to give you a clear picture of what's really happening in your environment. Next, it must leverage threat intelligence sources like Talos, asset and user context, and MITRE TTPs, and, to provide a deeper understanding of what alerts that you see. And of course, in this day and age, it also needs to leverage AI and machine learning algorithms to effectively analyze, correlate, and prioritize the detections that come in across the entire attack chain and affected devices. Now, as you can see from this slide here, XDR addresses each of these areas. It streamlines investigations using progressive disclosure techniques to shorten the time from detection to response, helping to alleviate the analysis paralysis that affects SOC analysts when they are faced with too much information, too many choices, and too much data to sift through. Now, I know we have all been there. I was in SOC too one time. Now, it also provides prioritized alerts so that SOC teams can focus on the events that pose the greatest threats to the organization, while also hiding noisy and irrelevant alerts. Now, of course, it also delivers automated response actions so threats can be mitigated rapidly and proactive measures can be taken to prevent against future threats. As a whole, Cisco XDR helps a SecOps environment minimize the time spent on detection and response of correlated security events by providing the most critical information needed to detect, triage, investigate, and respond all in one place. with risk-based prioritization of security detections, you can focus on the most critical incidents and view recommendations that enable you to immediately diagnose, contain, and remediate the threat, of course. So let's talk about it. Building effective playbooks, right? So, you know, a playbook is essentially a documented process that outlines the steps to be taken when responding to a specific type of security event. Cisco XDR playbooks are structured in a way that aligns with the SANS Pearsall incident response model. Our response playbooks consist of the following phases, identification, containment, eradication, and recovery. Now, when building a playbook, each phase requires at least one task, and each phase can handle up to 12 tasks. Tasks are designed to guide the incident response team through the process of managing and resolving security incidents. They include triggers, events that initiate the playbook, and actions, specific tasks to be carried out. Now, playbooks are designed to streamline operations by ensuring that responses are consistent and adhere to best practices. For example, like on the right, a phishing attack playbook, such as this one, might include steps like isolating affected systems, analyzing email headers, and notifying, the security team. So, when designing your SecOps playbooks to respond to incidents, here are some key things that you want to consider. First, identify the use case. What specific type of incident are you addressing? Next, you want to define triggers. What specific events will activate the playbook? This could be anything from a suspicious login attempt to the detection of malware. Then you will want to map out actions. Like what steps will your team take in response? You want to make sure you detail each action clearly to avoid any ambiguity. Finally, it's crucial to test the playbook in a controlled environment, of course, to ensure that it works as expected and iterates based on the feedback. Now, the great thing to note is that Cisco XDR has you covered by providing you with a customizable pre-built playbook right off the back. The Cisco Managed Incident Playbook provides you with a pre-built incident management workflow that you can review and build upon when creating a custom playbook. Now, while the Cisco Managed Incident Playbook is managed by Cisco and is read-only and not customizable, it can be duplicated to create a custom playbook that you can edit from. One key thing to note here is that the primary playbook that will be in use must be marked as the default playbook. That's critical. So now let's discuss the playbook editor and assignment rules. Playbooks can be created using the playbook editor, where you can view playbook details, create new playbooks, edit existing ones, duplicate and customize playbooks, set a default playbook, and delete playbooks. The editor also allows you to view the tasks included in each playbook. Once a playbook is created, you can assign it using assignment rules. These rules automatically assign playbooks to incidents based on specific conditions. In the playbook section of XDR, assignment rules help manage the automation of connecting playbooks to new incidents. And by setting custom conditions, you can create assignment rules that automatically assign a specific playbook to an incident whenever it matches those conditions. This assigned playbook will then appear on the response page for that incident. If no assignment rules match up, the default playbook will be assigned to all newly created incidents. For example, you could create an assignment rule that assigns a playbook designed for malware incidents to any new incident that matches certain malware-related conditions. This will not only streamline incident response, but it also ensures the appropriate playbook is immediately associated with each new incident type. Yeah. So, Building effective workflows for incident response. Let's give it a whirl. What does that mean? What is a workflow, right? So, Cisco XDR automation offers a no to low code solution for creating automated workflows. So, yes, that means that if you do not know Python or your eyes attempt to cross themselves anytime you attempt to do any type of programming, Cisco XDR workflows have you covered. Yes, we did think about you. You know, these workflows can interact with a variety of resources and systems, whether they are from Cisco or third party vendors. Automation workflows act as the primary component, akin to scripts in traditional programming. You know, these workflows can vary in complexity, from simple ones with just a few actions to intricate ones that integrate numerous actions across different products. Using the drag and drop interface, you can effortlessly design your own workflows, which can be triggered by various schedules and events, such as new incidents, received emails, executed webhooks, and more. The possibilities are almost endless. And if you are still questioning why you should want to build a workflow within Cisco XDR, let me tell you. There are numerous advantages for your cybersecurity operations, such as, the automation of repetitive tasks. Yes, that means more speed and efficiency, consistency and standardization. That means uniform response and reduced human error and improved incident response. Yeah, that means rapid detection and mitigation, along with prioritization. Automated workflows can help prioritize incidents based on their severity and potential impact, ensuring that the most critical threats are, of course, addressed first, right? So let's go over some workflow attributes, as I call them. These attributes, as you will find, are located in the Automate section. Collectively, they provide the framework to automate security processes that are defined within the workflows, right? You have the runs. The runs view the displays previous executions of workflows. Here you can see what a workflow is doing, whether workflows are currently running, and whether they have failed or succeeded. You can also find information on who ran them and various other details. Then you have targets. Targets in Cisco SDR represent the device, the identity or resource that a threat targets. They're identified by one or more observables, which can include a type, an operating system, and other recorded metadata when known. Targets are used for various purposes, including managing workflows, fetching information about events, assets, and more. Now, by default, there is a default target group which contains all HTTP endpoints, and a system target group, which contains all of the HTTP endpoints within your tenant. Now, target groups helps by allowing workflows and their activities to dynamically select targets from within the group during workflow execution. And then you have account keys. You know what an account key is? It refers to a unique identifier that helps link an integration source to a specific account. This key is used for different integrations within Cisco XDR to identify and connect to an account in a secure manner. Then there's those lovely tasks. Tasks are activities linked to a playbook that are designed to assist in the incident response process. They provide a set of recommended actions for addressing an incident. You know, these tasks can be executed manually by a security analyst or automated, through workflows. Then there's variables, they store and pass information between the activities in a workflow. They can be added, they can be defined globally or within a workflow. Global variables persist between workflow runs or are shared across workflows. You can manage variables on the variables page in the automation menu. For security, of course, there are limits up to 100 variables per workflow and a maximum size of 1 megabyte per variable. Variable types include input, output, local, static, global, and environment, each serving specific purposes and scopes within workflows. Using a variable is an awesome way to store API keys and other sensitive information, that your workflows might use. And lastly, triggers. A trigger in Cisco XDR controls when a specific workflow is executed. This can happen based on a specific schedule or when a specific event were to, occur, right? So let's talk about the workflow toolbox, right? Within XDR automation, there are several components that are taken into consideration when building a workflow, of course. Workflow Editor allows you to build simple or complex workflows and atomic actions and or activities. As you can see here, the toolbox contains 3 tabs. The first tab includes all of your activities and atomic actions. The middle tab is for logic, where you can use control structures to set conditions such as, if this is true, do that. If something else is true, do something else. This tab allows you to incorporate logic, loops, and other control structures into your workflows. The right-hand tab contains workflows, enabling you to nest workflows within each other. This means you can have a parent workflow that runs multiple sub-workflows, offering great flexibility in designing workflows, based on your specific use case, of course. So here's a nice and awesome flow diagram. This visual illustrates the structure of a workflow. On the left, you have various triggers, such as API requests, approval tasks, email triggers, and pivot menus, which can initiate the workflow. The workflow processes inputs through activities and atomic actions, performing tasks like, data collection, sending WebEx messages, or pushing data elsewhere. Outputs may be generated, leading to a specific outcome. Now, at the bottom, targets are represented, along with the circular call out for credentials provided by those lovely account keys. This high-level overview captures the typical, mechanics of what a workflow represents. Now let's talk about it. You thought you had to build out all of those workflows yourselves, huh? Got him! The Cisco XDR Automation Exchange enables you to quickly discover and install new automation workflows using an installation wizard. Now, this feature allows you to find curated content and operationalizing it with just a few clicks, right? So, as you can see on the Exchange page, you can easily locate useful workflows and streamline the import process with the one-click install wizard. You can filter the Exchange by products and view popular workflows. And then too, if you have a workflow that you admire and believe that the community would admire it too, you can submit it for publishing to the Exchange, provided, of course, you have the right permissions. As an administrator and content author, you can create or edit a workflow, validate it, and request its publication to the Exchange. The Exchange manager or content moderator will review the submitted workflow and either approve or reject the request. Once approved, the workflow is published to the Exchange and becomes available for everyone to install and use it. The Exchange is your one-stop shop for exploring a plethora of pre-built workflows. So yes, that means that you get a workflow. Everybody gets a pre-built workflow. Whoop, whoop. Yes. So let's talk about implementing automation rules. Yeah. So, triggers and automation rules. Now, triggers can automate repetitive tasks, respond faster to incidents, and to make sure necessary conditions and actions are taken, even when your security team isn't available to manually respond to every alert or incident. That's great, right? And of course, there are 2 trigger types in Cisco XDR. Now, automation rules integrate triggers, trigger conditions, and workflows in an intuitive manner. You can configure a rule to determine when a workflow is executed, such as upon an event or an on schedule, and optional conditions can be added. You know, examples of such events that would use an automation rule type include task approval, email arrival, a new incident notification from Cisco XDR, and webhook reception. You'd want to use rules to monitor patterns in these services, enabling, you've guessed it, policy driven automation. Now, to be clear, priority rules are the default incident rule type. Priority rules allow you to arrange rules in order of precedence with other prioritized incident rules. A standalone rule, however, always executes the workflow if conditions are met, halting further rule processing. Now, approvals versus a prompt. These task types are designed to facilitate user input or decision making within a workflow. They're utilized to automate responses and actions, but have key differences. An approval task allows you to implement an approval process within your automation workflows. It's primarily used to seek approval or disapproval from users for certain actions. Once the approval task is created in the workflow remains in a wait state until the approval decision is made. You can either approve or reject an approval request. Now, a prompt task is used to request additional information from a user during the workflow execution. When an automation workflow encounters a prompt task, the workflow pauses until a response is provided to the prompt. Prompt tasks can be used to ask various questions, make choices, or gather additional required data to proceed with the workflow. Now, I want you to know that the status of these tasks indicates whether action is still necessary to complete them or whether they were completed before the time duration expired. Under each task actions, you can view its results. Now, let's take a look at some common use cases in incident response that you all could create. Automating incident response playbooks can greatly expedite incident handling, providing accurate responses, and reduce manual tasks for the SOC team. We all need that. Here are some common security incidents where automation can be beneficial. Phishing attacks. An automated playbook can quarantine phishing emails, block the sender, and notify users and administrators. Malware infections. Upon detecting malware, an automated playbook can isolate affected systems, initiate a malware scan, delete malicious files, and restore the system from backup. Unusual login activities. Automation can detect and respond to unusual login activities by initiating multi-factor authentication challenges or temporarily disabling the suspicious account. There's data exfiltration. Automated responses to potential data exfiltration can include blocking specific IP addresses or domains, disabling user accounts, and alerting the security team. Vulnerability management. Automation can facilitate regular vulnerability scanning, patch management, and report generation, ensuring prompt responses to identified vulnerabilities. And then those dreaded DDoS attacks, right? For DDoS attacks, automation can implement immediate measures, such as blocking IPs, adjusting firewall rules, and coordinating with ISPs for traffic regulation rather. You know, each organization's needs and security infrastructure are unique. So the automation of response playbooks should be customized to suit those individual requirements. Now, let's review some best practices and challenges because there are best practices and challenges. So, creating playbooks in a security operations environment requires a deep understanding of the organization's security policies, incident response procedures, and the overall threat landscape. So, that is why it's important to understand your environment. Have a clear understanding of the organization's infrastructure, technology stack, and security tools. You want to keep playbooks simple and modular. Focus on clarity and brevity to ensure that they're easy to understand and execute. You know, have regular reviews and updates to your playbooks. Security threats are ever evolving, you know, so your playbook should too. Then you want to foster collaboration across your teams. Security isn't just the responsibility of the SOC. Nope, nope, nope. You want to involve IT, compliance, and other stakeholders to ensure playbooks are comprehensive and aligned with overall organization policies. Now, despite the benefits, there are challenges to be aware of. One of the main challenges is managing the complexity that comes with managing multiple playbooks. As you automate more tasks, keeping track of numerous playbooks can become overwhelming. Another consideration is handling false positives. Automated systems may inadvertently trigger on benign activities, leading to alert fatigue. Your playbook might need to interact with other systems and services through integrations. It's a challenge to ensure that these integrations work seamlessly and that there aren't any dependencies between integrations that aren't effectively managed, right? Now, the effectiveness of a playbook depends on the actions it comprises. Determining which actions are critical and configuring them in an efficient and effective order can definitely be challenging. So let's go over some key points to remember. When you're working with playbooks and the automation feature within Cisco XDR, let's take a look at this. The editor tab on the playbook page is the central location for managing and customizing playbooks for your organization, of course. And then initially only the Cisco Managed Incident Playbook is displayed as the default playbook, but it also is assigned to all new incidents until a new default playbook is designated. Now, playbooks need to be published before they can be assigned to new incidents. Just remember that. And automated workflows can be integrated with an incident response playbook tasks, which is awesome. Now, the triggers automation rules feature can be used to create conditions for when workflows should be initiated. Now, I want you to remember that playbooks and automation features are powerful tools to improve efficiency and reduce error rates, right? It is important to understand how these features work and how to utilize them according to your organization's needs. So if you need help along this lovely journey, we got you. We're here for you. So there's several use cases that you guys can take a look at. Onboard, depending on what type of phase you are in. There's implement, use, deployment. Get with your CSS, your SPM, or even your account manager, and they can help you out. Definitely. No problem at all. No problem. And then, of course, if you ever arise on an issue, break fix solutions, you can always visit the TAC Center. You can call in, create a ticket. They're there for you 24/7 to help you with anything that you might need. And of course, if you haven't already, here's some recommended steps that I hope that you guys take. If you haven't created a CCO ID, please do so that you can access TAC, create that ticket, access your tickets that are there, et cetera, et cetera. And you can also log into the training center, learnxdr.cisco.com. You can register and complete the foundations course, and there's other courses that you can go ahead and review. And if you still have questions afterwards, you can always schedule a follow-up call with your CSS or your SPM. Definitely, we're here for you. And now, what you all been waiting for, it's demo time with Oksana. It's demo time with Oksana. Hey, Oksana, how are you doing today?
Hi, Alex. Hi, everyone. I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Whoop, whoop. Well, I know you have something exciting for us. I'll let you take it away.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here to present the XDR demo for you and the Playbook automation demo. It is going to be a live demo, and we anticipate more questions coming up during the demo time. So please take a moment to capture this Slido QR code and ID so that you can ask your questions in Slido while I'm doing the demonstration. And we'll have time to address the questions live at the end of the session. So yeah, here's the slide. Just make sure you capture it, because now we are going to move into the live demonstration, which is always exciting. In this demonstration right now, we are looking at Cisco XDR user interface, and I'm showing you the incident tab. We are going to look at how you can automate the playbooks and different ways to automate certain actions while you're investigating an incident. And I'm just going to pick one of the incidents over here. And as Alex mentioned, we are here looking at progressive disclosure of information, right? When only important information is shared right away with us, such as MITRE information, the actual risk, the asset risk and detection risk of this specific incident, the assets that are involved. And from here, we can also see specific information about the assets and the users that are involved, and some description, which is an initial point for us to understand whether we want to look at this incident right away or not. Now, we can use AI assistant to help us walk us through the incident and help us navigate incident investigation for us. And here you will see that it will suggest some automated actions right away, which are tied to the workflows that Alex mentioned already as well in her presentation. But for now, we are not going to use AI assistant. We are going to look at the incident itself. So here on the first screen, you will see much more information about the incident. You will see the graph, which presents how things are interconnected, right? All of the observables. And here we can see that there's been an email that came in to specific users, which led to execution of this exe file that was downloaded using the link in an email, which led to lateral movement and then CNC connection to this domain later on. So it gives already us quite a bit of the information. Again, we can see devices, observables related to it. If we start moving through the tabs, we can see the detections tab, which allows us to walk through specific detections and correlations that led us to believe this is a high impact incident, and correlate all of these detections together. And then we move to response tab. This is where we will see the playbook for incident response, right? And normally we would see a default playbook that will walk us through those 4 steps that Alex mentioned, like identification, containment, eradication, and recovery. This is the default playbook that Cisco provides that can be cloned and modified, but this is the one that you will always have by default. And here, when we start walking through the steps, we will see that certain steps allow us to execute actions, such as if we want to isolate certain endpoints associated to this incident, we can click execute. We can choose the endpoint and click execute again. And it is going to trigger an action. This is going to be reflected in the work log for the incident. So we can see every action that has been taken and who has taken it, whether automatically and manually. And then we can look at the run. Now here we will see that the isolation of the endpoint was not successful. I deliberately chose this use case because this is the demo environment, and in the policy on secure endpoint, we do not allow to isolate this endpoint, because otherwise it would be constantly isolated by people using this demo environment. Right. So this is just to show you how granular will be the information you receive, and you will receive all the error messages associated with it. So what it tells us that this endpoint was not found in Sentinel-1. It was not found in Microsoft Defender. It was found in Secure Endpoint EDR, and the policy was not allowing their isolation. So you can see this right away. right? I could move to see more details about this specific workflow, and that will actually take us to the automation component. Again, as Alex said, this is the built-in security orchestration, automation, and response platform, which you can see a low to no code, right? It's a drag and drop. So if I look at this workflow itself, you will see that it's not a small one, right? It's a pretty sophisticated one. But this is a built-in system workflow that we provide for you. And so the analyst doesn't need to even know which EDR is configured, whether it's Microsoft, right, or whether it's CrowdStrike or Cisco EDR, right? This workflow looks at the integrations, recognizes what is configured, finds the endpoint in specific integration, and does the actions using the APIs. So all of that seamlessly with one-click action for secure analysts. So now while we are here, let's take a look at this automation component more closely, right, into this workflow feature. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a very little quick workflow, which is going to be a pivot menu workflow. Before we do so, just let me very quickly show you what that means. I can click on any observable or any asset or endpoint. And here I can click on any specific attribute, and it will going to show a pivot menu. It is going to take just a moment to render because this environment has a lot of integrations, as you can see. And down below, we see XDR automation section. So this is where we actually going to be adding our own one-click action, which can include many, many different actions within it, but it is going to be executed as one-click action in this menu. So we are going to click on pivot menu template, which means a lot of initial configuration has been already pre-configured for us. And we are going to isolate based on the host name of the endpoint. So we are going to click continue, and it is going to bring a blank canvas. On the right-hand side, you see the properties that Alex mentioned before. A lot of them are already pre-configured for us because, again, we are using the template, and all of that information is already provided. The only thing we need to choose is against which external solution we are going to execute those API calls. And in this case, we are going to choose HTTP target, and we are going to choose secure endpoint. When we configured integration for Cisco XDR and secure endpoint, this target was already created for us automatically. So no additional configuration is required at this point. No like API keys, copy pasting, etc. All of that is intuitively done for us. And on the right-hand side, you will see a lot of different activities and logics that Alex mentioned. Again, and you see we learned all of those APIs for you. Basically, here is the Duo activities. Here is secure email activities. There are third-party systems you will see here as well. Let me scroll down a little bit to show you something like CrowdStrike activities. So a lot of activities are already pre-built for you for the most common use cases that we see our customers are leveraging. So what we are going to do is we are going to find Cisco Secure Endpoint, and we are going to choose Get Connector Good, the first activity over here. And you can think about it in terms of programmability terms as a little function, which will have its input, but also it will have its attributes and outputs. So what we are going to choose here on the property tab on the right-hand side is just we click on this little icon over here against the host name field, and we choose workflow input. We're going to choose one of the input variables that has been already created as part of this template, and that's about it. The next one we are going to use is isolate host activity, which we're just going to drag below the first one. And you see it turns sort of this like orange-ish or yellowish sort of color. It means that it's missing certain configuration. So what it requires connector GUID, which we should have received within this first activity. So again, I'm clicking on this little puzzle button next to it. We see that the new option activities came up. We see this previous activity in the list, and connector GUID will be the attribute that will be populated after this activity is executed. Now, as we click anywhere on the canvas, you see that the yellow color is gone, and now we see that it is properly configured, right? So there are no more alerts, no more alarms, no more like colors telling us we need to pay attention to anything. And this shows that the interface is very intuitive, right? It is going to show you where you need to put input information, what configuration is missing. It gives you meaningful messages, which is, I think, it makes this platform is very easy to use. So the next thing I need to do is I need to click validate so that this workflow becomes usable. And if I go back to the original incident that we just looked at, and I choose, for example, this slate endpoint, and I choose, I look at different attributes, and I find host name attribute, and then I click on the arrow here to get the pivot menu up. Here's the workflow that we just created, test isolate endpoint. And if I click on it, it is going to be executed. And as it executes, if we go back to our workflow and check the runs, we should see that the workflow failed. But again, it is expected, right? We go inside, it tells us the first action green, it executed. The second one is red, it did not execute. And if we look at the properties, it is going to tell us isolation is not allowed on policy. So it's very easy to understand what the failed action was, right? It tells you which action gave us an error, and we can see exactly what the error was. Now, I'm deliberately showing you something that is not working as expected, because what I learned is that we learn much better when something is not working as expected. And again, this is the demo environment. We do not allow all of those hosts to be isolated by people using this environment, because otherwise we won't be able to use it anymore. What happens is they usually forget to unisolate the endpoint. So we decided, you know what, we're just going to disable it, and it makes the demo even more fun. So as you can see, with all the explanations, it took me less than 3 minutes to create an automation within this platform. So next, what we're going to talk is about playbooks. To do so, I need to go to administration and then playbooks. And this is where all the playbooks will be created. You will see this is the Cisco managed playbook, which is provided by default, which you will be able to clone, right? Or you can create your own playbook just from scratch, or you can clone its default playbook and start from there. So this is essentially what I did. I cloned the default playbook, and I created the new one, which is called New Cisco Managed Incident Playbook, and I added a specific task to it. Now, before we look into this task, one thing I want to point out is I wanted to show you the exchange that Alex mentioned, right? And all of those different types of workflows that are available for you, because you don't have to create a workflow every time you need something. The first action I would actually recommend is to go and check Exchange and see if there's something that is already available for your needs. For example, let me see if there are any workflows that allow us to send messages and send notifications for new incidents that are coming in. And there are a few. There is this one, which is create room for a new incident in WebEx and send a direct message when the new incident comes in. You can see that it is already installed. Now, the installation is actually one-click action. When we look at this workflow, you will see it contains all information, what are prerequisites, what integrations need to be configured, the description. It gives you step-by-step what this workflow actually does, how to get support, what variables will need to be created, whether they're mandatory or not mandatory. And you can see it also tells us that those integrations are already in place and they are enabled, which means that we are ready to use this workflow. Now, what is missing here is there would be a button which says install, and that would be the only thing I actually need to click, because I installed this workflow already in advance to make sure I can demo it for you in this demonstration. So basically what we're going to use is we're going to create a task, a custom task in our playbook that allows us to choose to send a WebEx message for the new incident. Now, what I need to do is I need to edit this playbook, and I choose add task, and that will be send WebEx message. And then you would need to provide some meaningful description for this workflow, for this task. And then I choose include workflow. And here, as I start typing WebEx, the workflow comes up, which says create room for a new incident. And I'm just going to attach it and click OK. So now it got attached at the end. I'm just going to move it a little bit up over here. And as I click publish this playbook, it is going to tell me that the updated playbook will only be applied to the new incidents so that are going to come in from now on. Now, one thing that I want to tell is you can make this a default playbook, right? So that is this going to be applied by default to all the new incidents that are coming in. And that would be what I would do for simplicity of the demonstration. But also in this playbook section, there are assignment rules. I just wanted to show you a couple of them. So you can chain those rules together and stack them up. For example, here's the first rule that says that if an incident title contains specific wildcard, then apply ransomware recovery playbook for this incident, which means when the analyst opens the incident, they're going to see ransomware recovery playbook with suggested tasks that they need to follow. The second rule here says, after that, if the score of the incident is over 800, meaning it's a critical incident, then apply that RSA incident playbook as a next step. And then the final one here shows you how you can use other attributes of the incident, such as MITRE tactics and techniques associated with the incident as a selection condition for the new playbook to be applied, right? So for the playbook that I created, if we go back and I make it a default playbook for the time being, right? And when the new incidents come in, right, that playbook is going to be attached to it. So if I look at any other incident over here that I tested in the past, you see the new Cisco managed incident playbook was applied, right? And what I see here is this create WebEx space for investigation task, the custom task that we created. And if I click execute, it is going to start the workflow, right? And you see that the workflow is running at the moment. And what it is going to do, it is going to create a new WebEx space for this incident in WebEx. So let me pull quickly my my WebEx space. Just give me a moment. Let me pull quickly my WebEx space to show you that incident that was created, that WebEx space that was created. Here is this WebEx space. So you see there was an incident card created containing information from the incident that was pulled from the incident. It has some text over here as well. The bot added me, and there would be other people, whatever we configure to be included. as part of the incident, and then I can click on this button and it is going to take me back to the incident that we were investigating, right? And I can follow on what is going on and what's happening over there. So that's one way to use incidents. So you see, I didn't have to create the workflow myself. I downloaded something available at the Exchange, which is relevant to the tools that I'm using as part of my, SOC operations. And I found it relevant for my environment, and I make it use by customizing this playbook. The other thing I wanted to show you very quickly is how to trigger these workflows automatically when the incident comes in. So you don't even have to click on this action at all. And this is where the automation rules come in, right? If we look down below, I have already created this incident notification on WebEx. And what it essentially does is when the incident comes in and the status of the incident is new, it is going to execute this workflow. So what I could do is I just could add another workflow here and start typing WebEx, and it would create this. And what I would need to provide it is the name of the room where I want the message to be posted. And once this is done, I will be able to send the message for any new incidents that come in. Now, this has already been done over here, so I don't want to repeat that action again, but that would be how we configure the rules. And again, you can stack them together. You can have priority rules that will execute consequently, and you can have standalone rules which will execute for any incident that come in. So it's a very flexible and robust platform that allows you to very granularly define how those incidents need to be handled. And as more comfortable you become, the more you start triggering these rules, and triggering those automations without human intervention, and just make them do the work for you. The last thing on the incident I want to make sure I show is the work log. So whatever we execute, whether it's a response task within the playbook, or whether it is triggered by the automation rule, we will be able to see it in our work log. So you see, here's an example when something was triggered as part of the automation rule that I just showed you. When the new incident comes in, this automation rule executes, and no one has to have any human intervention with it. And here's an example when someone clicked on the response task within the custom playbook that we created and executed an automation. So all of those actions get logged, and you can go back and see exactly what has already happened for the incident that we are investigating. So this is the end of my demonstration currently, and I would like to pass back to my colleagues to close up the session.
Awesome. Let me take myself off of mute. Thank you so much, Oksana. I definitely just learned a lot. And I hope that everyone else out there learned a lot as well. I do want to mention too that, of course, I do have some resources that I want to go over with all of you guys. Because I know some of you guys are questioning, like, is there like a step-by-step place I can play with this? Yes, there is. There's the D Cloud. You can go, feel free, use your Cisco login to access it, and there are some XDR labs available. And within the Cisco University, there is one relevant lab available and course that you guys can use, and we'll link that as well. And then, of course, as you see over here on the resources slide, there's the Help Center, the XDR Help Center that is connected to XDR itself as well, that you can go on there and search for things that you're trying to look how to do, such as create a workflow, etc., etc. And then within the DevNet course, there's the XDR Automation Lab. The lab is awesome. I've been through it a couple of times myself. You're going to definitely walk away with learning or knowing how to properly create a playbook, how to properly execute an automation rule, etc., etc. And then if you need more information, we do have a couple of YouTube videos out there. The XDR automation overview, which is amazing, and the XDR automation building a workflow that is amazing as well. So yes, if you guys have any further questions, please go ahead and feel free to put them in the Slido, because it is time for questions and answers that we can provide you with, hopefully.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Alex. And as you mentioned, yes, we'll go ahead and take some time for questions now. Go ahead and scan the QR code that's displayed, or using your web browser, you can browse to slido.com and enter that information that's on that screen. Okay, I do see a few questions. So Alex, let me start off with this question with you. What licensing tier is required for third-party integrations with XDR automation?
That's an awesome question, right? Because, everybody has third-party integrations, but some of them may not have the proper licensing. Of course, for third-party integrations with XDR, the proper licensing that is required is either going to be the XDR Advantage or the Cisco XDR Premium licensing tier. If your organization's tier of licensing is Cisco XDR Essentials, additional information on how to upgrade that licensing is available at the bottom of the integrations page within XDR. Hope that helps.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to our next question. Oksana, let me go ahead and see if I can give this one over to you. How can I modify an existing playbook in Cisco XDR?
Yeah, we briefly covered that in the demo, and I want to repeat as well. There are two ways to do it. The first one, you can clone an existing default playbook that is offered to you and use it as a starting point to make any modifications. Or you can start from scratch and just build it from a completely blank playbook. To do so, where to find this, you would need to go to administration section and then playbooks. And this is where you can create, clone, and edit your playbooks. Do not forget to publish it. Otherwise, it won't be visible and it won't apply to upcoming incidents. And once you publish it, it will be available.
Perfect. Thank you very much. All right. I do see one other question. And if any of you two would like to answer, feel free to do so. If I were to publish a workflow within the automation exchange, would I be able to edit it later on if things are changed?
I can take that. Of course, you can edit it. You can edit the playbook as long as you have the proper rights. That's administrator and content author. It's once you edit it and resubmit it back to the exchange, it's gonna go back through the review process, and then it will go through publishing approval. So yes, you can edit it.
Perfect. All right, I think we've answered all the questions. Alex, first off, is there anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Yes, as you guys know, outside of XDR, it is football season. And, the Cisco store does have some awesome clothing, that you can purchase to help your football season needs. So, yeah, definitely go ahead and visit the Cisco store, the Cisco store for
Good
those
plug.
NFL, yes, those NFL clothes.
Awesome. Oksana, how about you?
I want to invite everyone, if you have any questions, please post them in the DevNet automation community that we have. We are closely monitoring it to make sure we capture any questions or practices that you're implementing and help you answer those questions. So yeah, if you have any questions about any content that we have shared in the DevNet security automation community, we will be able to assist you further.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you again, Alex, Oksana, our panelists, and the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community. At this time, if your feedback is important, so we do encourage you to take the time to go ahead and participate in our Slido survey. Again, you can join that Slido survey by scanning that QR code on the screen or browsing to your browsing to slido.com and entering the code that's also being displayed. Okay, let's see here. So for even more tutorials, demonstrations, and future webinars, please do visit the Cisco Learning Network. If you've registered to this event, you'll receive an email afterwards that will direct you to the post-event discussion thread. So we do encourage you to go ahead, and if you have any further questions, to go ahead and post them up there. You'll also find a copy of today's presentation as a downloadable PDF uploaded in that post-event discussion thread as well. We want to thank everyone for joining, and we will see you next time. Have a great day.